Well, good evening, everyone. Meteorologist Michael Wilhite here with Southern Indiana Weather. Thanks for logging on to this latest long-range forecast update, sponsored by Metal Magic in Washington. You can give Chad a call, 698-8555, for all of your paintless dent repair needs. And, of course, be sure to tell him that Southern Indiana Weather sent you. All right, let's talk about the blizzard briefly. No, not the Dairy Queen blizzard. Does that make you hungry? Sure, I love looking at those. Reminds you of snow, though, and boy, they've had a whopping of a blizzard up here into the northeast. Not as much, still a little bit of a controversy there. The National Weather Service apologizing in New York City up there. They were forecasting New York City to get potentially here in downtown Metro, 20 to 30 inches, shut the city down and everything, and they ended up only getting around a foot of snow. In my opinion, I don't think there's anything to apologize here for, though, because actually this is Long Island here. If you go out here on Long Island, places out in here indeed did get over 2 feet of snow, and that's not that far away. So overall, I think the National Weather Service did a pretty good job of forecasting for that, and this was a beast. Places up here in Massachusetts have got 3 feet plus of snow on the ground already. So think of them, keep them in your thoughts and prayers, folks. They've got a long road ahead of them to dig out. Low pressure here starting to move away, and that'll continue to move on away. Now, for us, no snow or anything around right now. We put on the satellite here. You can start to see we're a few clouds around. We're going to start to clear out here eventually. Temperatures where the clouds are at here still hanging in the low 30s, where it's got more clear skies at. We're here already down in the 20s. I think we're going to go down to an overnight low around 20, 21 degrees here across the southwest Indiana area tonight at least. And the skies will gradually clear out. We've already starting to see a few breaks in those clouds. It'll only be a matter of time. Now, tomorrow will be a pleasant day. It'll be warmer, but beyond that, on Wednesday night into Thursday, we have the chance of some more light rain showers, rather. Not snow this time. As I put future radar here into motion, you can see we stay dry on Wednesday. By the time we go into the overnight hours, here is, well, let's just take a look here. Here's Wednesday evening, and you start to see this rain develop with a front out to our west. Moves on in along, and then overnight it rains just a little bit. By the time 7 a.m. comes, high-res NAM has this pretty well gone for us, and just some light rain after that. And really, it looks like Thursday may end up being a mostly dry day. May end up being more of a Wednesday night feature very early on Thursday morning. We'll keep an eye on that. Either way, it does not look like a big rainmaker for us by any means. Now, this weekend, we have the potential, and this is what I want to turn to for the rest of the video. We have the potential to get a pretty decent storm system coming in. In fact, all major models now agreeing that we are going to get something decent coming in. So I'm going to show you where we stand at on these things, and you'll be able to get an idea. First, let's talk about the Canadian. The Canadian has been the most consistent out of any of the models on this. The Canadian first started eyeing this system for us as a potential doozy of a system about 3 or 4 days ago, and it continues to show that. Here's what the Canadian tracks it. Let me just sort of get this out of the way. Motion this back a little bit. There's that system on Thursday as it moves in, sort of this little fast clipper system. It's pretty well dry for us. I mean, it doesn't give us much of anything to speak of with this. High pressure takes over for Friday and into Saturday. That moves out of the way. Then you've got this next system moving in, and notice what you've got going on. You've got a clipper system digging down up in here, and you've got a southern system moving in, and they're going to sort of phase that energy together. And anytime you get that phasing together, you can end up with a pretty doozy of a system. It would start the snow here. This is for 6Z on Sunday, so it'd be about 1 a.m. Sunday morning, so it would start to snow overnight. Here's by 7 a.m. Sunday, and then by afternoon hours, 1 p.m. on Sunday, you see snow in a pretty good little swath over us, starting to move out by 7 p.m. that night, at least according to the Canadian model, rather. But notice where this is, clipper system diving down here, and then a low tracking down to our south, sort of working in tandem. If we go back one run prior to that, the Canadian had this, and it still has the clipper system diving down. As you can see, there's that clipper system right here. Here's the energy from the southern stream. They're starting to merge together. The low is not as well defined up here on the clipper system as it is in the current run, but it's still the same idea being proposed. A pretty decent little low pressure system moving down to the south, phasing up with a northern branch, and we get some snow here as a result of that. Now, the GFS has been very interesting to watch. First of all, let me go back to this. This was the GFS I showed you in a blog post earlier today. This was the GFS from this morning, and the GFS this morning actually had the low tracking more towards our north. It doesn't really do much with the south portion of the jet stream. As far as this is concerned, it doesn't really phase the two overly well together. And the big thing about this is the low. I guess what I'm trying to say is this would be the low from the Clipper system, and it really doesn't develop the low from the south nearly as much as some of the other models had been. As a result, the northern stream was more dominant, and that puts us in sort of the rain phase with this rain and then going to snow on the back side of the system. Well, now this, by the way, was a compromise over some of the previous GFS runs, which I don't have pulled up, but some of the previous GFS runs gave us all rain and no snow whatsoever. Now take a look at the current GFS run this afternoon. Now the southern stream is the dominant one rather than the northern stream, and that allows us to be on the colder side of the system here, and it would keep us as an all snow type of setup. Here you go. By the time 6Z Sunday comes 1 a.m. there, the system is starting to move in, and it rains and keeps the rain down to our south, keeps us on the rain snow line, stays pretty close to the Ohio River here. So if you're in maybe Evansville, Tell City, Louisville area, right along New Albany, right along the Ohio River, according to this, that's where the rain snow line would at least set up initially, and then as it moves through, everybody would transition to some snow. So that is a much different take. But notice the current version of the GFS positions it down here really towards Alabama, whereas the Canadian keeps it down here in that sort of phase as well. So very similar tracking on the two of these. Now the European model I don't have pulled up here for you, but the European model also tracks this. It tracks it a little bit further north into say Tennessee, but it keeps the southern branch the most active as well and keeps us on the cool side of the low, giving us some pretty significant snow in the area as well. So really all three models, the Canadian, the GFS, and the European model, now predicting some decent snow totals over the coming days. So now the question is, will this verify? All right, because we've been shafted a lot over several systems this year, and I fully realize that, folks. Let me show you a couple of things, though. This is why this is such a complicated forecast. Here's where we are pretty well right now. We're looking at 500 millibar height. So this is winds, and really what you see in the color charts here is spin in the atmosphere. I want to show you two disturbances. The first that I want you to keep an eye on is this little portion right here. The second I want to keep you an eye on is this little portion right here. This is going to be the northern phase of the jet stream, which is going to rotate down here. This is going to be the southern phase of the jet stream, which is going to sort of go like this, and they'll meet up, have a happy marriage together. As you can see, we put these into motion. By the time the energy comes down here, take a look at this. By the time Saturday comes, there's the energy starting to dive down. Here it is starting to rotate down here in the southern stream. Eventually, they make a nice little happy medium, and then right over us Sunday, here's where they come. And whenever they do that, we've got some nice positive spin in the atmosphere to make that lift for us to get the snow. So the idea here is we get southern energy and northern energy phasing together, which could make for a decent sized storm system. Now for this to happen, we're going to have the perfect scenario set up where they actually phase together all winter long. The model's way out have said these are going to phase together for a certain storm, and then they haven't. So we'll keep an eye on this. But the good news is, a lot of the storms that I forecast and showed you 7-10 days out, by the time you got into the 5 and 6 day period, it had turned to an all rain type of setup, and it looked like they weren't going to phase together. The system was going to go north of us, keeping us into the warm quadrant. We've seen that so many times this year. But right now, here we are 4 or 5 days before when this event is going to start. And we're still seeing good agreement for snow. That's a hopeful sign, snow lovers. I know for those of you that are really wanting a good winter storm, I will say that's a good sign. So it's not a guarantee by this point, but it's something that we will keep an eye on over the coming days, and let's just keep our fingers crossed, snow lovers, that we'll get something. Let's talk about snow totals real quick just to give you an idea. Here's the latest GFS. All right, the latest GFS gives us reasonable totals, but not barbaric totals by any means. We're talking 3 and 4 inches or so across the area for snow. And you can see right down here would be where that rain snow line starts to set up, where you only get minor accumulations down here. You can get an idea of that. Let me show you this, though. One run prior of the GFS, this is what the GFS looked like this morning. Much different. That rain snow line was sort of setting up right over southern Indiana, giving very minor accumulations here to the Evansville area and places along the Ohio River. Now with that move down, it would give decent snow totals. So again, there's a lot of fine tuning that the models are going to have to do over the coming days, folks. So we'll take everything with a grain of salt, but hopeful. It's looking hopeful. Now, the Canadian model has been the most consistent in showing a decently sized power storm. The Euro has as well. But here's what the Canadian shows now. And let me show you, it is lessening on the mega snow totals, but it's still a pretty decent system. Both of the model runs today have been very consistent. And what you see here is really heaviest snow totals right along the Ohio River. If I go back one in time, you would see a little bit heavier, but again, the heaviest snow totals really right here for the Evansville and Tell City area, right along the Ohio River. Current run, again, puts those decent snow totals right there. One run prior is this, but then take a look at this. Here's where we start to get here's what I want to show you. As we go back one run prior to that, you had mega snow totals, but they were down here way to the south of us with reasonable totals over us. One run prior to that, look how much it was. So again, the Canadian model has done a lot of shifting. What it has stayed consistent on is keeping a very decent snowstorm in the area. So sometimes it might be here in central Indiana, then it might go down to Kentucky, and today it's phased and come to closer towards the Ohio River. So a lot of details to still work out, but at least the Canadian is still hanging onto the idea of a pretty decent storm system. These first purple, this purple that you see here would start about 6 inches of snow. So really, places along the Ohio River, if this were to verify, would be looking at 3 to 5 inches of snow. That's certainly winter storm warning criteria. So it's an idea we'll keep in mind. Beyond that, if we take a look at the European model, just to show you the European model is on board as well, you can see though around about an inch or so along the Ohio River, going up to 2, maybe around the DuBois County area, 3 by the time you get up into Martin, and then all the way to 6+ inches as you get up a little further beyond that. So again, with this sort of a setup, I don't have the other model runs to show you on this, but if I were to show you some of the other model runs of the Euro, a very similar thing, very, very similar thing happening with those, in that you would see this up here at one time, down here another time, way up here another time. So it's sort of all over the place too. Hopefully in the next couple of days, hopefully we'll start to zero in on the area of greatest concern for the accumulating snow. And it looks like the models are starting to come into that. But here's the thing: if we go back here and we take a look at these two systems phasing up together and being perfectly married, we always say that we like to have the storm onshore first so that we can get better model data to really understand. This Clipper system will start to move onshore up here about Thursday or Friday. The system that's going to be impacting down here won't move onshore until really about Saturday. It'll be a very fast moving system in the one down to the south. So probably going to be at least Thursday, but maybe more likely Friday and even Saturday before we get the greatest data coming in for this system. So with each day, the confidence grows in something, and with each day we'll get better data in to sort of fine tune those details a little bit. But as of right now, looks to me like some accumulating snow is possible. Could be light amounts, it could be big amounts, it could be still mixed with a little bit of rain, it might not be. I know that sounds like a cop-out, folks, but right now this far out we just can't tell. But I can tell you this much: it looks really good right now for winter storm lovers. Let's keep our fingers crossed and hope for the best. Let's take a look at your 10-day forecast here. All right. Again, some clearing overnight. Some areas have already cleared out pretty good. Some of the areas are not. So it'll be a gradual clearing, at least for some of us. Cold with lows nearing the 20-degree mark. A little bit warmer tomorrow. Hey, some sunshine at least. A few clouds, warmer. 41 your high. Slight chance of rain moves in, as I showed you from future radar on Wednesday night, and then it'll be, I think, sort of a morning thing, but then just sort of be a fairly gloomy day on Thursday otherwise. But hey, warmer with up to 47, and then the bottom falls out of the thermometer again. We're stuck back into the 30s for Friday and on Saturday. Light snow showers move into the forecast on Saturday night and then really ramp up on Sunday. And again, I do think that snow accumulation will be possible. It's a very big question mark at this point, but we'll have to monitor it. But temperatures maybe in the mid-30s or so for Sunday from the way things look for us right now. That should start to wind down by the time Monday morning comes along, and it looks like Monday, maybe even Tuesday, could be another day stuck in the 20s too. This data is a little more foggy out here. I went with sort of the mid-30s for Tuesday. That may be a little bit too hopeful. Some of the data is actually wanted to take us down into the upper 20s, so for a second day in a row. But either way, it's going to get a little bit chilly, and you can see as you go into the extended outlook, the 40s, once we get past this snow system on Sunday, the 40s are gone for a little while, and it looks like we're back down into a below normal cold pattern. So, bottom line is, folks, if you've got weekend plans, especially on Sunday, you want to keep it tuned here to Southern Indiana weather for the forecast. Lots can change in the coming days, folks, but I will say this: the last significant snow that we had was back on November 15th, 16th, right around in there. Then we had a little minor snow event on on Thanksgiving, and then of course Kentucky, and just a little bit right along the Ohio River got a little bit of snow a few days ago, but most of us haven't seen decent accumulations since around November the 16th. This is by far our best chance to see some accumulations since then. Keep your fingers crossed, snow lovers. It's coming. We'll take it one day at a time. Keep it tuned here to SouthernIndianaWeather.com. Be sure to visit us on Facebook and at SouthernINWX on Twitter for updates throughout the week. I'm meteorologist Michael Wilhite. Have a great night, folks, and we will see you next time.